majority of votes to win. So again, either Democrat or Republican, you have to actually go to the independents especially, but also people across the political divide in order to gain a majority of your vote. Incentivizes bipartisan consensus, building once in office. Again, this idea of once I'm voted in office, if you want to get reelected, again, you have to appeal to a majority. And may reduce influence of money in campaigns. Again, this can kind of help break this two-party system. It allows for more independent, perhaps less financially well-endowed candidates to run for office because perhaps they run a very grassroots populism campaign. So, we're going to talk about a little bit of the sad stuff right now, and then we're going to talk about how ranked choice can fix it. As of now, the US ranks 20, and this is actually out of date, we tried to find a new slide, couldn't get it, is actually 25 now. And this is from The Economist as a flawed democracy. So this is quite disenchanting considering we kind of pride ourselves in being a democratic country. And we're actually quite far down the list. Trust in federal government is declining rapidly. While demand for more choice in the two parties is growing. And I think this especially works in Florida, where we're obviously quite a purple state. And we're going to play this little video. I think it's, can I play the video with, thank you. It's quite astonishing. This shows the actual voting records of Democrats and Republicans in the House kind of through the decades and shows where we stand. Exactly, fascinating. And as Kendra said, oftentimes how people speak and how people vote are very different. And this very much shows how people are voting and the lack of bipartisanship that is happening now within our government. Okay? And so ranked choice voting helps to solve this because you have to appeal to the majority. You have to appeal to the moderate, not the extremes on either side. Also, this is interesting that almost half of people don't affiliate with either party. Right? 43% of Americans are registered or affiliated with as an independent, not a Democrat and not a Republican. Yet they are often stuck because of the system with these two choices. And oftentimes, again, they are disenfranchised to vote because they don't like either choice. And then they get lambasted by others who are like, I can't believe you voted for them. You know they're not going to win. Why would you vote for them? This isn't how it should work. You should vote for the person who represents you the best. Come back. I think I might have killed it.
Hang on a second. It was having an issue anyway.
Okay, sorry.
You need to point the speaker for this way.
Part of it, though,
There we go. I'll fast click.
You got it, you got it.
All right, now, I'm 29, so I don't distinctly remember this election, but I have read a lot about it, all right? So, yes. Yes, the election of 1992. Clinton won with 43%. That is not the majority. Bush, 37.4%. And Ross Perot, which obviously was a huge kind of independent upswing, won almost 19%. Now, perhaps Bush would have won this election. Perhaps Clinton would have won with a majority. We don't know, right? But this shows that neither candidate had a majority of the votes of the United States of America. If we go even kind of to a more recent election, you had Bush, Gore, and Nader. This is Florida.
That wasn't bad.
And Florida, obviously, we all remember, was extremely close in this election. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, 2,882,000, almost 883, voted for Nader because that was their choice. They didn't want Bush or Gore. But you can imagine how many people probably heard, I can't believe you voted for Nader. Now Bush won, Gore lost because of you, because you voted for third party. Ranked choice voting solves this because the people who had voted for Nader, if Nader would have then lost the election, their vote would have automatically transferred to whoever their second choice was on either side of the party. Here is a perfect example of the problem with our system. Now this is the Fall River mayoral, which is in Massachusetts, of a mayoral election 2019. Now this was the mayor, Haziel Correa, and he was indicted and investigated for fraud, tax evasion, and what was the other one? It was kind of espionage.
The first one was fraud and tax evasion.
Fraud and tax evasion, right. So, they had a recall election because obviously he was very corrupt. And 61% of the people of Fall River decided to pull him out of office. A majority decided. Excellent. Then they decided to have a re-election. And he went for re-election even though he was just recalled. Now, he won with 35% of the vote.
Oh my gosh.
If second choice voting had happened, all the others 65%.
Wow.
Right? So this shows the kind of problem with how our plurality system works. Right? So ranked choice voting. Instead of just picking one candidate, ranked choice voting lets you rank multiple candidates in the order that you prefer them. To win under ranked choice voting, a candidate must get a majority of 50%, either in the first round or in an instant runoff. And again, this will help sort of the election cycle. Statistics show that after every runoff, voter participation declines rapidly, right? You vote, excellent, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go vote again. For a lot of people, this is too much, too expensive. We just saw in the polls how difficult this is for a lot of people. This solves it. There would be no need to run another election because the second vote would already go through, right? And people on the other side who are actually fighting against ranked choice voting say, it's just too complicated, people will get too confused. That is what this looks like. First choice, second choice, third choice, you pick your candidate in the order that you prefer them, or you don't fill a bubble at all. If you don't like them, you don't have to put them as a choice. Okay? So that is a very just kind of plain sample ballot of what it looks like. Here is a video to show you as posted as the candidates and show it actually in practice. And I think kind of the results are staggering.
Pick your favorite color.
The ranked choice voting method.
Instead of voting for just one color, you get to rank your top 3.
Well, purple is the best, but if I can't have purple, I want blue. And if neither of those wins, I guess I can live with orange.
Now, let's count up everybody's votes.
Under ranked choice voting rules, it's not enough just to get the most votes. You need a majority.
More than 50% of the votes.
Purple's ahead, but it has only 7 votes.
It needs at least 11 to win.
So we eliminate the color in last place.
Sorry, orange fans, we're going to your second choice.
2 more for green,
1 for purple.
but no color has 11 votes yet.
Still no majority. Bye-bye, blue.
One more for purple,
4 for green.
and we have a winner.
The ranked choice voting way.
So at the beginning of the video, purple would have won. By the end, it showed actually the majority of people wanted green to win. Okay? So, kind of went through it again. First round, 55%, 30%, 10%, 5%. You count only the first choice. You have the majority in the first round. However, this very rarely happens now in the United States elections. So, most, you don't have a majority, 40%, 35%, 20%, 5%. And after each round, you can see that people's second choice dramatically influences an election. And all of these rounds happen instantaneously. Again, you're going to save the voters' money, you're going to save the government money, the city money, the state money, the federal government money. Because all of this would happen within one ballot. You will not have to go back to the voting booth again and again and again. And you see that the majority, round 3, is much different than who would have won at round 1. And it works. Australia uses this for over 100 years. Ireland has instituted it. Canada, Scotland, India, New Zealand. It works in these countries. Actually, 5 of which are ranked higher in the Democratic Index than we are. Now, it is in place in some places around the United States. Maine is the first to use it statewide. You can see that ranked choice voting is often used for military and overseas. You know, they were talking about military wanting to use their absentee ballots. Oftentimes, because they're overseas, it takes a long time to get these ballots mailed back and forth, especially, across oceans. And so they use ranked choice voting for military personnel because it allows them to perhaps have their second choice in if their first choice is knocked out of the race before they even find out. We kind of saw a bit of a problem with this in the primaries. Like a lot of people voted in the primaries and voted for somebody who had dropped out a day before. Okay? And it kind of just shows, the next one is, again, ranked choice voting implemented. And then you'll see Florida down at the bottom. Ranked choice voting adopted, but not implemented. Right? And then no RCV around the country. So this is the battle, and it's an uphill battle. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and we have a lot of work to do, but it all starts somewhere, and it starts in your local elections, and we're working on the state level as well in order to get this implemented. Now, and I kind of like to reiterate this has bipartisan support. Both on the left and the right and the middle, every which way benefits from this system. It is just more democratic. More people will get their votes heard, and the majority rules. Right? So, late Senator John McCain supported it, as did Barack Obama. So both people on both sides of the political spectrum. Right. Think about this little fine example. 2016 Republican presidential primary. I know it seems like a long time ago. It's funny to think now, but a lot of Republicans did not like Donald Trump. At all. However, he won through the primaries without a majority of the Republican support. He kind of rallied, again, the extremes, perhaps. Same with this, 2020 Democratic primary. How many dropped out of the primary because they weren't in the top 3 favorites? How many, if their second choice or their third choice, if they could vote their conscience first, right? You're like, actually, this person probably has no chance, snowball in heck to win. But I like them the best. But if they drop out, at least my second choice will go to the person who I can support and has a chance to win. And it rewards positive campaigning. Again, if you have to appeal to a majority, if you have to appeal across the spectrum to the moderate, it doesn't behoove your campaign to criticize in an extremely negative way your competition, right? If you work together and it rewards positive campaigning. This is kind of 2 quotes from San Francisco area. With the new system in place, candidates for the San Francisco Board of Supervisors have been campaigning together trying to win the goodwill of each other's supporters because they're like, hey man, I know I don't like I'm not your first vote, but I could be your second. I could be your third. And with enough of those votes, they can win. Still attacks and private animosity between campaigns, but overall it was remarkably positive campaigns. Candidates said they didn't want to alienate each other's supporters for fear of losing out on second choice votes. At the end of their final debate, they even sang Kumbaya. Cheesy, but whatever, you know, go with it. So, ranked choice voting, RCV, is a real and practical solution. Eliminates spoilers and vote splitting, encourages more people to run, again, independent third-party candidates, curbs negative campaigning, gives voters more voice and more choice. How many times do you on neither side of neither party, I like either candidate, but I'm gonna choose one of them because, what else can I do? Can transform politics in Florida, especially. Remember, Florida is an extremely purple state. All of our elections are really close. They run 49, 51%, 48, 52%. Think about that 2% if people's second choices could be counted. Florida is a swing state. Political affiliation, 37 Democrat, 35% Republican, 27% no party affiliation, a quarter of the voting populace. We are solidly purple. Last 3 governor's races were decided by less than 2%. The outcome of close elections are easily swayed by third-party candidates, and RCV can fix this. Now, to kind of the local. What we're working on right now is in 2007, so we're talking 13 years ago now, the City of Sarasota enacted ranked choice voting with 78% of the vote. We still don't have it. The first reason was due to we did not have the technical capabilities in order to enact this on our voting booths. I don't think this holds true anymore. And now we're actually having problems more on a constitutional level. They say that in the Florida State Constitution, the plurality winner wins the election. And so we are currently in a fight with the Secretary of State and just the state in general in order to try to kind of get this sort of, not abolished, but to get lawyers to look at it and say, it's still a plurality winner, actually. It's still the first, exactly, it's still the main amount of votes to win. It's still a plurality vote, it just is kind of adopted through a different way, right? So the people have spoken, 78%. That's an incredible majority. And again, it saves the city an incredible amount of money. Every kind of runoff election costs the city another $100,000. Okay? So this is money the city could save. So at the moment, we are waging illegal and public pressure. We are gathering together. We are speaking to groups like you. We have assembled some legal help and are kind of getting to the governor and the secretary to act. They're stonewalling us at the moment, but if we keep annoying them, hopefully something can happen. To end it, I'm going to put a little video on it, and this is what Minneapolis voters say about ranked choice voting. They enacted it as well, and this is what they say.
I did rank my choices. I ranked it and it was really easy to do.
It was pretty easy.
There was nothing that was challenging about ranked choice voting.
It was very clear how to rank my choices and which candidates were available to me.
There's been a lot of education about it, so I really knew what to do.
I gave one to the people that I really wanted to win, and then I gave the second the people that I really wanted. If my person didn't get it, the next person I wanted to get that vote.
I've been following this election and I was able to put down the candidates that I thought were best going to serve Minneapolis.
It gives you more option. It makes you think about who do you want to choose first, who you want to choose second, and why.
I think it made it more thoughtful for me.
It caused a little bit more thought.
It allows me to vote my conscience first, and then my slightly more electable conscience second.
You're able to actually choose your first choice, even if it's a reach. Ranked choice voting did change the way that I voted. I was able to vote with my heart, my head, and my gut, whereas usually I would just have to vote with my head.
With ranked choice voting, you can make your voice heard across all the candidates that you know you can support in greater or lesser degrees.
The ballot is a lot different than it would have been. There would have been a Republican, a Democrat, and whatever else. And in this case, we're not voting for a party, we're voting for a person.
It's not just a one or nothing kind of thing.
It's a little more nuanced is what I'm trying to say than just a simple vote for this or that.
Well, I like that the candidates have to really appeal to people beyond just their base.
They seem to talk about things in a constructive fashion.
Dare I say it, inject a little bit of positivity into the race.
I get to support candidates that support different values that I have as an individual.
New ideas can be presented that couldn't be presented if you had to get a quorum in a convention or something.
It's much more efficient. You don't have to do primaries, right? It's very practical.
It just feels like you have more choices and a better way to like affect the actual outcome.
I want to make a difference locally, and this is how I can do it.
I think it'd be a good idea everywhere. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, even nationally, federally, that would be great to give third-party candidates a better shot.
Absolutely. Give everybody a choice. Give the opportunity.
It's kind of self-evident, I think. So, here's the kind of end of take action, what we can do. We need volunteers. We are trying to talk to as many groups as we can. As I said, education is probably one of our biggest battles with this, of just letting people know this is actually a thing we can do. This is a choice that is possible, and we are working towards it. So if you have time in your hands, if you feel like volunteering, supporting, anything like this, that is an extreme benefit to our cause. It's amazing. Like and share on Facebook. We're trying to get kind of bigger on social media, get our presence known, again, get the word out. Join your local team. As I said, we are kind of more based in Sarasota, but Venice is not so far away. Help at events like this. Speaking events, we have clipboarding events. We're going to farmers markets in the mornings. You'll see us sort of just wanting to talk to people, wearing t-shirts. You know, although we failed to wear them today, but we do have t-shirts. And donate. We need, unfortunately, this is part of the process. We are looking for donations in order to keep our kind of group running, to get sort of pamphlets out, to get flyers out, to perhaps, again, our legal team is the big thing as well, because at this moment, they are no longer saying that it's a technical problem, they are saying it's a constitutional problem. And so we actually have to get a legal team in order to fight this, because they are stonewalling us on a state level, even though Sarasota voted for this. Yes?
What I'm about to say is not an argument against it, because it's very intriguing. But as I'm watching it, something clicked in my mind. When Robert Kennedy was assassinated in 1968, his opponent was George Wallace. And after Kennedy was assassinated, 48% of his voters voted for George Wallace, the second choice. What does RCV do to prevent something like that from happening?
I mean, again, if only 48% of them voted for Wallace, that wouldn't have been a majority.
Well, you had to figure that he had a number, I think 14–15% of the population voted for him anyways. You know, and if he's the second choice, all of a sudden he gets 48% of somebody who is polar opposite of him. It says something about the voter, and it says something about the system. And if people are ranking, in other words, you're not always making a rational choice when you make a vote. You're making a choice from your gut. In other words, my emotion says I like this person, I like that person. The two of them couldn't be more opposite, but nevertheless, the number 2 person could be a George Wallace.
Yeah, true. But if that's how the populace votes, I think we have to follow that. And I think your example is valid, but I also think it's an extreme example. I don't think the majority of people vote one spectrum to the other spectrum very often. I genuinely believe that most people.
Well, there were a lot of people who were Democrat, who you would expect voted for Hillary, went over and voted for Trump. And so that if they were ranked on there, what would happen?
True, but perhaps if with ranked choice voting, they would have voted to vote for Johnson instead, or vote for Green. So I think in your example,
in that case, there might have been a third candidate.
Exactly.
Choice voting, you're going to get more.
Yes, that's the whole point,
shown
that
that more
those
people
examples were not ranked choice.
Exactly.
They were either or.
Yeah, exactly. So with ranked choice, I don't even know the third candidate in that selection, I'm sorry, but...
As I say, it's not an argument against it, it's just something to consider.
It is, absolutely. But I just generally believe, especially nowadays where it is so polarizing on a voting level, most people generally tend to be still moderate and in the middle. And I think generally, as kind of the video said, you know, you vote my heart first and my head second and then my gut kind of thing. So I generally feel, sure, that's a valid concern, but I generally feel that ranked choice voting kind of alleviates this because it allows third-party candidates to enter.
And there's no law that says you've got to put down a second choice.
Also true, yes. So also this is kind of the critique that a lot of people bring up is, oh, but I actually don't want this to be my third choice at all. Then don't put a third choice. That's totally fine. If you only want one choice, you can only have one choice. Yes?
Would this work also for primaries?
Yes, it would. Yes. As you said, it could almost, I mean, if it was instituted in a far enough level, it would get rid of primaries in a way. Or it would get rid of the secondary round of primaries, etc.
Currently, 5 states did use it in the primaries.
Yes. So they are starting to institute on the primary level. So it's this kind of faceted approach of you have to get on the local level, and we're working on the state level, and hopefully, maybe one day on the federal level, primaries, general election.
I do think it's important to say that there are a number of cities in Florida. Sarasota passed it for the Sarasota city elections. We'd love to see it expand beyond that. But there are other cities in Florida who are now on that trend. And we feel like if we can get enough of a momentum going, Gainesville, Jacksonville, Orlando.
Tampa as well is working?
Yeah, okay. And so if we get enough momentum, then we can really have the Secretary of State take notice that the state is ready to move forward with this.
Any other questions? Excellent, guys. So Pat and Leah have 2 clipboards. If you have the time, energy, money, anything to kind of help this cause, I think it shows that, especially with this movie that we played before, that democracy, unfortunately, is a little under threat right now. And this nonpartisan, nonpartisan and bipartisan both, change could really help influence the United States and help local elections especially. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and I totally support that. I think it's a great idea. And even, you know, if you sign their sign-up sheet, whatever way you can help, spread the word, tell your neighbor. Do you have more of the pamphlets that could be handed out?
Yes, we will. This is just to keep notified of our progress and what our activities are. I mean, it's like a once a month or every 2 weeks thing to just keep you informed.
Great. And we do have a website, it's rankmyvoteflorida.org. And this is where you can volunteer, find out what's happening, donate, everything, etc. like this.
Thanks so much, and thank you all for coming, and thanks so much, Tom Matrullo, our videographer. I can't wait to see the video. Actually, if we have a video that can be shared, you can show it to other folks.
It'll be